It's the latest flashpoint in Zambia's new political crisis. A deeply controversial decision to suspend these MPs belonging to the country's main opposition party. They were suspended after they boycotted a parliamentary session in March. That's when Zambian President Edgar Lungu gave his address after winning last year's contested elections. The MP's suspension is not the only controversy. The head of the UPND party, Hakainde Hichilema, was arrested in April. That's after his motorcade allegedly blocked the president's. The government says it was a direct threat to the Zambian leader's life. Hichilema now faces charges of treason. Many believe the authorities' response has been too heavy-handed.
We are not letting go of this matter without putting up a fight. And putting up a fight includes going to the same judiciary, because we think that there's still a small percentage of people within the judiciary who are straitjacketed. In our view, we are now convinced that dictatorship has come to stay.
President Lungu was the country's former defense minister. He took power in 2015 after the death of then-President Michael Sata. Both men belonged to the ruling Patriotic Front. The party served as the main opposition till first sweeping to victory in 2011. It's one of a number of parties that have kept a rare democratic tradition alive in this part of Africa, but critics say that may be changing.
As it is now, it's very difficult to convene a meeting, a public meeting. So the freedom of assembly, understand that in a dictatorial arrangement, freedoms will be curtailed. There will be no state of emergency, there will be no curfew, there will be nothing, but freedoms will be curtailed.
That's why the opposition says their protests are important, and that it's the only way to pressure a leadership which they say is unwilling to listen. Shoaib Hassan, the Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from London is African Affairs Specialist Justina Mutale, and from Lusaka, journalist Reginald Ntomba. Thanks both of you for joining us. Justina, the churches have come out with a joint statement and they have used the word dictatorship when referring to the president. It must be serious, Justina. Are they right?
No, I don't think that they are right. And to start with, it's not the combined church. That is not a consolidated statement from the church. Before I go into that, I just want to make a disclaimer that I am speaking here as an individual, as a patriotic Zambian, as a non-partisan Zambian. I'm speaking here as an observer who and doing a critical analysis of how things have been obtaining on the ground in Zambia. About the church's statement, one representative of a certain church spoke on behalf of all the churches, and he also said he was speaking on behalf of all Zambians, which is not true, because a number of church leaders have come on board to say that they are not to disassociate themselves from the statement that was made by this individual one church leader. Okay,
but it was a joint statement by the Council of Churches in Zambia, the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, and the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops. But that's not entirely what our discussion is about. So let's keep it as broad as possible and try and navigate as many avenues as possible here. Reginald, according to Justina, President Edgar Lungu and the Speaker are doing the right thing. This is not a dictatorship. What do you think?
Thank you for having me. I think to discuss the state of Zambia's democracy, we need to go beyond the events of the last 2 months. We need to look at governance in a much broader perspective in Zambia. The arrest of the main opposition leader is just one of the issues that have fed into this overwhelming view that not everything is right with the current state of governance in Zambia. So my take would be that if we are to discuss the state of Zambia's democracy, we need to look beyond the arrest of Hakainde Hichilema and his co-accused persons. You would wish to know that for 10 years, the current party that is in power campaigned to win the election and govern. They have quite a lot of experience of what it means to be an opposition party in this country. They have a lot of experience of how it feels for a party that is in power to use, abuse, and misuse state institutions in order to dominate the political space. So ideally, I would have expected that with that experience garnered through 10 years of opposition work, the current party would have placed Zambia on a path of building and sustaining its democracy. I'm afraid that currently they are not on that path.
Okay, but Reginald,
because of the various issues.
Sure, fair enough. And so you disagree with them. But they're saying you have the opposition leader Hichilema and his convoy that refused to give way to the presidential convoy, which put the president's safety in danger. That was an act of treason, according to the courts, and that's why he's been arrested. Don't you want to give them any credit here that perhaps they did endanger the president's safety?
Well, that case, as far as I know, is in court. And the courts will decide whether that was treason or not. But for me, the broader context of the issue is the whole state of governance in the country. So it's not for me to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think the court will agree or disagree with them based on that particular charge when the case is up in court.
Okay, so Justina, Reginald feels it's going in the wrong direction. Tell me why you think it's going in the right direction.
It is going, I believe that it's going in the direction. We have to go back to when Zambia introduced multi-party democracy in 1991. By doing so, Zambia laid the way and pioneered opposition politics in not only in Zambia, but also in the rest of Africa. And in that way, we gave renewed political hope to the whole continent. And for 52 years since Zambia obtained its independence, we have lived in peace. We have lived in peace and in harmony despite having 73 tribes, despite having people with different political issues. We have had, since multi-party democracy for 22 years, we have had very contentious elections. But what has made it graceful is that the loser has always bowed out gracefully.
Right. Okay.
And I think that democracy, most of the time, can be propelled by the opposition if they can bow out gracefully, and we can have fair play from both the government, the ruling government, and also the opposition.
Okay,
that
so
is
let's bring
what democracy depends on. Fair play from both sides.
Fair play, okay. And let's have fair play in this discussion. Reginald, should Hichilema have bowed out gracefully because he lost in that election? And that's at the heart of all of this.
Well, he contested the outcome of the election, and is within his constitutional and democratic right to pursue that option. So if indeed he feels that he did not lose the election legitimately or square and fair, it is within his constitutional right to pursue the legal avenue to go to court. And according to him, the case was dismissed not on its merits, but on a technicality. And that is why I understand his party has since insisted that the case be heard via another legal avenue in the High Court. So should he have considered defeat graciously? It's not obvious. It depends on how he feels. Okay. And from the route that he has taken, it's obvious that he feels that he did not lose fair and square, and that is why he still contends, in my view, that the election was contested.
Okay, so Justina, from the outside looking in, would you agree that there seems to be a disturbing pattern at play here? Not only is the main opposition leader on trial for treason over what some would call a minor traffic dispute, you have Zambia's parliament suspending 48 opposition MPs for boycotting a speech by the president. And then when Mmusi Maimane from South Africa, the DA opposition leader, wants to go and attend the trial of Mr. Hichilema, he's refused entry into the country. From the outside looking in, there seems to be a pattern at play. Would you accept that?
No. First of all, regarding the guy from South Africa, Zambia is a sovereign state, and it has a right to agree who comes into the country and who does not come into the country. The guy from the South Africa, I believe, had no right whatsoever to be interfering in internal issues of Zambia. He should concentrate on he should concentrate his energies on what is happening in South Africa. South Africa, things are not going that right in South Africa. They have their own issues. He should concentrate on dealing with Zuma and not trying to come to Zambia and telling Zambians what they must do.
Okay. So,
and also, when you think about democracy, I know my colleague said something about how they my colleague said something that it depends, to bow out gracefully, it depends how the opposition leader as an individual failed. But to be a leader, it's not about an individual. It's not about your individual feeling. We put at heart the welfare of the whole country. We put at heart the peace, democracy and prosperity of the whole country. This takes us to a story in the Bible where two women were fighting over one child. And when the judge said, okay, let's just kill the child so no one has this child. And one of the women said, yes, let's kill the child. And the other one said, no, keep the child alive, let somebody take it. That is the attitude that a leader should take, whether you are in power or not. Whether when you are in opposition, you should be driving the prosperity of your country and not working against it. I cannot believe that after so many years of independence, of peace and stability in Zambia, that we have certain individuals who want to paint a negative image of Zambia. I can't believe that a people can wish upon themselves such a negative to tarnish the image of their own country.
Who are these people?
There have been a number of people shouting out Zambia is becoming a dictatorship. For example, you said a certain guy from the churches. Zambia is not a dictatorship. I have studied international relations and politics and political science. I know exactly what a dictatorship is.
Is Reginald,
Zambia at the moment is a democracy. We have, yes, I beg your pardon, I don't know. But what I know is that Zambia is a fully functioning democracy. We have a separation of powers between the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature.
Okay, let me give Reginald a chance then. Justina, allow me to give Reginald a chance,
We also have a flourishing civil society.
Okay, you say there's a flourishing civil society. Reginald, come in.
Yeah. You asked whether this is a pattern or not, and my preamble to this discussion was that we need to look at the state of Zambia's democracy just beyond the arrest of one opposition leader. Now, I gave you an example, an outline of how the PF came to power. 10 years in opposition, then they come to power. What has been the pattern in the last few years or months? Look at, for instance, the conduct of the police, the brutality of the police. Why should a state institution that is paid by taxpayers' money brutalize citizens in the manner that it does? It's public knowledge in Zambia that police have used live ammunition to fire at innocent and defenseless citizens. Why is that necessary? Why should a police service that is paid to protect human life and property behave in that manner?
Okay.
Let's come to the issue of the Public Order Act, for instance. You will notice that whilst in opposition, the Patriotic Front were victims of this particular law, and they actually promised that once they come into power, they were going to change it. But once they came into power, you notice that they used actually the same law that they were victims of to actually deny other dissenting voices space to project their voices. Anyone now who has a different view is accused of being bitter, he's an enemy of the state, and that sort of thing. You can't build a democracy in that manner.
So let's
look at the state of the media.
Hold on, Reginald. Let's get Justina to address those issues there. Reginald's saying, Justina, that the police are unfairly harsh on the citizens. That's not the vibrant, flourishing civil society that you're talking about. And he also says, and I'm going to pose it to her. He also says that you can't really express your opinions because it's an ever-shrinking space. It's closing in on people. They can't talk out against the state. Justina?
I don't believe that what Reginald is saying is true because Zambia, like I said, as any democracy, we have a flourishing free press. We have a lot of private media all over the press, in hard print and also online, even including, for example, we have one contentious issue with the owner of the Post newspaper, which has problems with avoiding tax. He has been charged with avoiding tax as the Post newspaper, but he still has had the freedom to start a new newspaper called The Must. So if it is a dictatorship, you never get any free press. You never get the private press. But all that is still obtaining in Zambia. You still have the church people standing up, going to speak against the government. In the petition, you had some of the judges that voted against the government, who gave their judgment against the government. These people are still holding their positions. They have not been fired. So that is a democracy. There is no dictatorship. Zambians, when you speak about dictatorship, you have to know exactly how a dictatorship works.
Understand.
Reginald would not be on the... Wait, let me finish this.
Okay.
Let me finish this. Reginald would not be on this interview with me if Zambia were a dictatorship.
But
that is according to my studies in political science and
Zambia's democracy.
You wouldn't be on this interview with me.
Okay. Reginald, you wouldn't be speaking to us via Skype from Lusaka if it was a dictatorship. There's a free press and you can express yourself.
Yes.
We can't narrow. We have to look at the broader picture here. Quite all right, the government says they have 80+ radio stations that are operating in Zambia. But you have to know that in the last few years that this government has been in power, opposition leaders who've gone to radio stations to appear on programs have had those programs cancelled, removed out. What do you call that? Is that still tolerance for dissent?
Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I want to actually... Yeah, but Reginald, I want to... Because we're going down the free press rabbit hole, and you're both going to bring up examples, and I'm not aware of those examples, and then I'm on shaky ground here. So I want to have another show at another time to talk about the press in Zambia, because I think it is important, and you both brought it up. Justina feels there's a free press. You believe there isn't, Reginald, and that's an important topic. But for now, I've got to move on and I've got to wrap. I thank you so much for joining us, and I thank you for your patience, Justina and Reginald.